What's up, folks? Casual Dad here with our final Necron Warlord deck building guide, quick tips guide, talking about the quote-unquote man himself, Imotekh the Stormlord, by far the most expensive of the Necron Warlords, and not all that high in pit points either. Well, okay, and max level gets up there, it gets to that 400. Pretty solid. Biggest things about him are he has that base Inspire. He is legendary, so he can get max trait 4 of both of these traits, both Barrage and Inspire there. Just kind of a power piece. But the biggest thing about him is that he has a really, really good ranged attack on top of a decent amount of hit points. It's very unusual to have a beefy card that also shoots and is actually designed to shoot, because most of the ranged attack Warlords are actually somewhat squishier. Yeah, of course, he comes in at a high price point, but is in a faction that has a lot of pieces to play with at the sort of medium to lower point range. So he's actually reasonably flexible to build out, but he is very level dependent. So you do want him to at least have that rank 1 of Barrage before you even try it. And really, you want to do higher than that at least, because those stats are still decent, but until you get that level 6, that's when he really starts to sing, and then of course above that is just gravy as you get to the higher attack type. But 60 is pretty middling for his cost, so that's kind of going to floor you a little bit, and I might consider other Warlords until you get him leveled up. But other secret sauce with him is his ability. Whenever one of your Necron cards readies, a random enemy card loses 20 wounds. Now it loses 20 wounds, it doesn't take 20 damage, so that will go through shields. It will do damage even through, and it's totally random, so it'll do damage through taunt, not impacted by taunt, not impacted by shields, for better or for worse. So it won't clear shield, but it can hit a non-taunt card while there's a taunt on the table, which is kind of awesome. The other thing too is it's whenever it readies. So when we're looking at deck building with this guy, there's some obvious picks to kind of play off right away, and that would be like this guy here, that just has a ready on deploy. So that when you play him, he readies, boom. When you play this guy, he does 20 damage to a random enemy card. And then he's also a very low price point, and then also, let me actually go ahead and upgrade this guy. He's also a very low price point and has decent ranged attack stats for what he does, especially because he also has that ranged ready and can boost the ranged attack of your other cards. So your ready on drops are very good. And he's a common, so the chances are he'll be around a lot. Come on, there we go. And then let's look at one of the others. I believe there are 2 ready on drop cards, and it's going to be him and this guy himself. Yeah. With the melee ready, so we can kind of balance that out a bit. If your Warlord expects to actually fight at the end of the game, I tend to favor an attack type that the Warlord doesn't have, so you're passively building up a charge in the end if you need to throw a Haymaker when you do actually drop your Warlord on the table. Once you get a couple shields on him, Imotekh, and I'm 1 level short of getting that second shield, but he's still really good. Imotekh is one of the strongest cards in the Necron faction. Goes very naturally with the Stormlord. Also, just because he's got that little bit of extra defense and also has that Inspire to kind of tide your cards over until the Stormlord himself is on the board. Now, this is looking a little bit thin, especially at the tougher levels of the campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this guy in here. Advantage there, he doesn't have a ranged attack, so if my other cards are shooting, he will go ahead and ready and automatically do that 20 free damage while also applying the ready effect. That's another thing I want to be sure to emphasize, is that whenever one of your cards readies with this, you get the damage and you get the ready effect. So you don't lose anything by readying with a card, and this is another good defensive piece. Because he's got this free damage, you can just ready away in any matchup that's not super unfavorable. If you're up against Psychers, Stormlord does not like Psychers. He likes being able to just ready into Oblivion and then counterattack or build up real nasty Haymaker punches. But still, it's not the worst matchup against... Go ahead and pop that guy in there too so we can do the shooting and then do the free damage. We'll go ahead and roll with that. It's not probably the best deck I've ever built. We have a very sturdy Endless card in here. We've got 2 shield cards and a decent spread of damage, but I do fully expect to lose this. Full disclosure, the Stormlord is one of the Warlords that beats me pretty hard in ladder when you get to a higher level scary one, but is one that I personally have struggled to succeed with, in large part because mine is relatively low level. It's still a couple levels away from being truly scary, but mostly just because I don't play Necrons, and that is exactly what you don't want to see when you have a fairly thin deck. Artemis's ability is really punishing if you don't have a ton of cards to kind of hide behind. But still, this should be okay. It's not the worst matchup. We're level 22 in the campaign, so we're going to see things that are a little bit scary, but not too bad. I'm going to go ahead and throw this guy on there. Good thing about that is he's going to want to melee, because those are a bunch of melee cards. You see that ready, then bam, did the extra damage, which is awesome. And we'll just go ahead and start dumb and go ahead and take that guy out. Just on the off chance that he starts doing ranged and starts building that guy's health back up. And that was more aggressive than it intended to be. High health cards that also have Berserk are also a problem for the Stormlord, because that 20 damage can be kind of a plink. So just kind of does a little bit of damage at a time, which is exactly what a Berserk card wants, so that it can build up a bunch of bonuses for that Berserk. So he's only got rank 2 Berserk, so he's only, quote-unquote, gaining 6 every time I do that to him, but it's still something I don't particularly want to keep going. He's probably going to shoot me again, which probably means my legendary is gone, but we'll see if the debuff... No, I don't have a range debuff on the board. Oh, well, that's a bummer. He's still got 5 cards in the deck, and I'm bleeding cards a little too quickly. So we'll see how this goes. This may... What level is Artemis? Okay, so Artemis does have Big Game Hunter, of course, which is a problem for my 66 cost Warlord, but he doesn't have Target Acquired. He's not the level enough to where he would get that. So small favors. Now I'm going to play a little bit more cagey and try to get the biggest advantage I can out of my free damage here. Because you're dealing 60 damage per turn if all your cards ready without taking any damage back. Unless they have a Psyker on the board, which, you know, just use that judiciously, because you'd be taking damage back anyway. If they have a lot of Psychic, you don't want to do it, but if they have just a little bit, it's probably worth the trade. Especially in this campaign where you do take damage back every time you do a thing. What do you think? Should I do it? Peanut Gallery? I'm going to do it. Although I'm going to regret that, because then they're all going to do their damage, the free damage from Artemis when he deploys, which could easily cost me Seamet. Ooh, it taunt. Gross. Oh, there goes one. Bummer. Oh, yeah, okay. So that's one nice perk about this being mixed faction, is that Artemis's ability only triggers when a Space Marine card is deployed. So it's actually saving me a lot that he's playing with these mixed other cards, too. Saving me a lot being a relative term. That also means he may have a sneaky Psyker in there. And no, I did really highlight the Stormlord's ranged attack. He does have a melee attack too, which isn't nothing, but it's not great. At higher levels, it's definitely better. But it's just nice to remember that it's there. Let's see. Oh, we have so much damage. Do we... Yeah, we'll save that for Artemis himself. We've got a little wiggle room with the hit points of the cards I have on the board. Ah, yeah, lucky. See, and sometimes you get a pick like that, where your ability takes out exactly the card you wanted to hit. And then there's that. Ugh. Now they are taking the damage back, which is good, but still. Now here I'm in a bit of a pickle, because even if I did do the ranged attack, there's a good chance that my ranged blowback will actually kill my dude here. We'll go ahead and do it. So that's plenty of damage. I should get a board wipe. Oh no, it was too much. It was too much. We touched the sun. Okay, well that was unfortunate. This would have been much more successful not in this campaign with this campaign modifier. Just dead on arrival. Yeah, that tracks. Okay, so there's the Stormlord for you. I'm going to try something totally different. This is going to be an easy win for me in this next one, because I will be knocked back 2 levels in the campaign, so it will be a lot less scary than what I just fought there. And it probably won't be Artemis again, so we'll try one of the thicker, heavier decks here, just to go ahead and try it. Let's start with we'll keep the 11 point in there because it does have that free damage, which is nice. It also combos with the Stormlord himself to really make that haymaker. We'll go ahead and do a little Nightbringer. Do a little Fear. Let's get a little bit more durable. Oof, too expensive real fast. That 66 points really hurts. He fills up a deck really quickly. So it's going to be different. I already did something like that. We'll go ahead and drop this guy. We're going to lean on the scaries and the regens. So this guy got a little bit of ranged in there. And you don't really want it. So hang on. So one of the somewhat common builds you see is just your one or so 2 or more, 1 to 2 Satan shards. But then you really have very little else to build in here. So I don't really want to do that, especially since these are fairly low level for me. Nightbringer himself is not. He's a good one to bring in there. But the problem is that you don't. So in this campaign, it's going to be a little bit different. In this campaign, you don't want anything that's that big. You don't want anything that punches that hard, because the more damage they do, the more damage they're going to take right back. So we're going to focus on our heals. Do a little bit of this, and we're going to really, really lean on the durability of Necrons and use those readies as our main offensive weapon and be just incredibly obnoxious and make the world's scariest deck. I'll throw this guy in here. Yeah. And this isn't a bad deck by any means. It's, even with the free damage ability and the damage output of the Stormlord himself, one of the biggest challenges of a Stormlord deck is doing enough damage quickly enough, because it's a very bursty deck. The Stormlord, he has decent punching ability, like I pointed out, but until you get to max level, he's not that durable. Not for the cost, not for the kind of decks you're going to go up against, and not for the sacrifices you give up for having him in a deck. Just because it's 66 points to put the guy in a deck, and everything else has to build around that deficit. So, you do want to play cagey decks. You are going to be either outnumbered or outmatched, generally. Yeah. And so Stormlord was, for a while, the absolute peak of the meta. He was one of the most terrifying warlords out there. He's still good, still definitely has a place, but he has lost a bit in terms of the overall scheme of things. But still definitely worth playing. Let's see how this goes. Ugh, man, that damage back is really taking out the durability here. That's all right. Is funny, is this... Cool, okay, so judgment tokens aren't going to apply if I have a... And you can see that I am getting a pretty significant defensive buff because I'm removing his buffs over here. I'm still taking a whole lot more damage than I'd like very quickly. This guy's practically dead, although he was up against this thing. Ooh, you want to do some Imotekh? Okay, alright, let's see if I got him. I do got him. Do I want to do it? He's still got 5 cards in the deck, but this guy's toast if I don't. Yeah, just to save the Chronicler. For now. For one more turn. Yeah, and so this is the only one I've played 2 games of. I want to make sure I give this Stormlord a fair shake and talk through all of the different nuances with him, because he's one of the more challenging ones to deck build with. And he's gonna, yep, bloop. Wow. That's what you get for having a minimal attack stat, buddy. You just took that right out. And we're trying to slow them down and get our free damage as much as possible. Really lean on durability here. We're keeping up on the total deck, or total card count, but that's not going to last. Maybe, I don't know. This Endless guy's doing great. And there we go. That's 1 for 1. Oh, that was a judgment token. Yep. Okay. And then we'll drop this guy. We're not going to drop our last Imotekh just yet. Yeah, let's do it. Squishy guy. This guy's not good with this modifier. He's got too much damage per hit points. You really don't want bursty, glassy cards in this modifier if they just blow themselves up. So, Stormlord. But still, I wanted to show it, and it's kind of fun to play with the modifiers anyway, just for something to mix it up a bit. Ooh. See, can I take him out? Yeah, let's do it. This also, again, is only level 20, so this should be considerably easier than the last round. And then that guy's going to be up against my Endless card. Excellent. You want to be very, very careful of Big Game Hunter, because that will quickly take down the Stormlord. What stats you got here? He's level 2, and not very impressive. Okay, cool. Still going to regret that, because he does have 2 shields. Oh, you didn't want to do that. Luckily, the AI is not particularly cautious about the modifier either, although that did hurt me a bit. Ooh. Ooh, yes it did. Ooh, we got a judgment token, so if he shoots, I'm now taking a whole bunch of extra damage. So I'm going to be really careful about actually making attacks here. And I should have this comfortably, but it still is, I mean, comfortably, it is also fairly close. And I'm able to keep this going. One of the really good advantages of the Stormlord in the end game is you are dealing direct pressure damage as well as reducing buffs. So your opponent isn't going to sit there building up, building up, building up, as long as you sprinkle your deck with some good readies. You want a nice mix of ranged and melee ready, and then hope you don't hit a Psyker who doesn't use either. Because the only way to deal with a Psychic ready for Necrons is your outflank, which you can only play so many of. Let's see, do we do it to try to punch through the shield? So I'm guaranteed to deal him 40. Yeah, let's do it. Let's be exciting. Guaranteed to deal him 40 because of those two, and then almost certainly we'll do, yeah, okay, cool. Never great at doing the math on how much damage is going to go through shields. You just kind of can tell when it's going to go through. So there we go. That is the Stormlord. We'll go ahead and leave it there. 1-1. Largely because of the modifier and my poor play. But hopefully that was insightful, learning something about the Stormlord. And yeah, until next time.